Good morning and Happy New Year to everyone. I'm Jim Lynch. I am offering a belated holiday present today, and that is I am posting on the YouTube channel. We're going to try to do this more frequently in 2023, but as always, it is as time permits. But as you guys know, who follow me on social or do watch the videos on YouTube when I do post them, I am a motivational and inspirational speaker, and that is how I spend the lion's share of my time. But as you also know, if you're following me through social and on YouTube, I am in the process of optioning a screenplay. The screenplay, by and large, has been done for quite some time. I have made some tweaks and some changes to it here and there. It's forever a work in progress, but by and large, the screenplay is finished and is ready to be seen by the movie going public. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Studies have been done where people who were involved in the study stated that one of the most difficult things to do, and the one thing that people are the most fearful of, is speaking in public, speaking in front of a group of people. Well, let me tell you what's up. This, as I said, is how I make my living, and I've probably done this hundreds, if not thousands, of times. I've spoken to Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, and in terms of difficulty, speaking in public has nothing on trying to option a screenplay. Admittedly, I'm a late arrival to the industry. At my core, I'm a writer. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm jumping into this completely blind. All I really have at this point is a script. I'm still in the process of, trying to find talent and producers and a director and financing and, all those things that go into making a film. And the script I think that I wrote is very good. It's actually based on, my life experience. So it's, with it being, semi-autobiographical, there is some quote unquote true to life scenarios that I think make the film compelling. Now, the title of the movie is Brotherly Love, and it's the story of two high school wrestlers and their special needs father. Two things I know extremely well, and I drew heavily on my experience as a person who is disabled and a former wrestler and current wrestling coach. And my thoughts going into the endeavor was, if I can get my script in front of the right person, I could get the resources I need to get the movie made because of its authenticity, and it's a pull at the heartstrings type of story. Easy, right? Well, let me know, for those of you who've tried to produce a film, and I know there are folks on YouTube and follow me on social who are in the process of this very same thing. Let me tell if this is. Let me ask you if this is a familiar tale. I can't find an agent because they don't accept unsolicited work, and I can't find a producer, director, or manager who will look at my work because I don't have an agent. What is a man with hopes and dreams supposed to do? Now, I developed something called the success mindset, and it's centered around 5 principles. A memory tool for remembering the 5 principles is to remember your vowels. A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. Now, A is for attitude. As I think most of you watching and following on social know, I did wrestle in the in the U.S. Olympic team trials. I actually did that twice, and I was at a time in my life I was consumed with wrestling and beating the sport's absolute best. Well, in wrestling, when you're talking about the sport's absolute best, you're talking about the Russians, and I'm going to tell you about my first international tournament. I drew a Russian in the first match. The match was practically over before it started. I was down 8 points in the blink of an eye, and I actually got mercy ruled. Now, the second match I wrestled that day was a match that, once it started, I never had a realistic chance to win the match. Once my opponent and I got into the flow of the match, the spread stayed between 6 and 9 points. So to sum up, my first experience in a major international event was 2 consecutive losses, day done. Well, there's an old saying in sports, you can't 100% control winning and losing. You do 100% control how you react to winning and losing situations. When I wrestled my first international tournament, at that time I dedicated 9 years of my life to this particular goal. Even though I had a non-competitive day, I couldn't just throw it all away. My attitude was not to give up, not to quit. It wasn't in my nature. I've been able to apply that attitude and that train of thought to the writing of this screenplay. Just like wrestling, it's a labor of love for me. I'm sure the work that brings you to watching this particular video will continue to move your project forward, because my attitude is to persevere, as I'm sure most of the folks who are watching, their attitude is to persevere. Ultimately, I'm going to get where I want to be. If you're going to get your project to where you think it should be, then that attitude has to be to persevere. It's an absolute must. If you don't believe in yourself and your work, then no one else will either, right? But how does one go from positive attitude to positive result? Well, that brings me to my next principle. And E is for effort. Most people make an effort. An effort is made because the mortgage needs to be paid, the kid needs braces, the truck needs tires. When I talk about effort in this particular instance, I'm talking about the minimum amount of effort that needs to be put forth to participate. If I were to take up tennis, I would go out and buy a tennis racket. I have this labor of love that I believe should be made into a movie. I wrote a screenplay. My entire wrestling career, I missed a grand total of 4 practices. The 4 practices I missed because the school doctor wouldn't clear me to wrestle. He thought because I had CP, because I was disabled, I would present too great a risk of injury. So I had to see my own doctor and have him clear me. Guess my doctor turned out to be correct because I didn't miss a single practice due to injury or otherwise for the remainder of my 14-year career. I accomplished a lot just by showing up, being at work or practice every day, and being on time. However, that is the minimum amount of effort that needs to be shown in order to pay the mortgage, to get C's on the report card, to win half the matches or games. I wanted to make a movie, so I wrote a screenplay. All important things, relatively speaking. But let me ask you this question. Are you looking to go through life just to be average? Was your goal to be involved with the greatest story ever told? Or was your goal to write a screenplay and have it sit on the shelf in your den? Of course not. So that brings me to my next principle. And I is for intensity. I mean a white hot intensity. Blind dedication and passion. That's what it's all about for us, right? Having a passion for your project. But wanting to isn't enough. You have to put in the work. Remember, I talked about tennis a little bit ago. Well, we've all bought the racket. Now it's time to do the work. And maybe the parts you aren't so passionate about. Yeah, I came from a sales background and a sports background. For those of you that don't know sales, it's a numbers game. The most successful people are able to figure out how many contacts they need to make one sale. And they just repeat that process over and over and over again. Well, upon finishing my screenplay, I took to Google. I did Google searches of the big 6 talent agencies. I contacted over 100 agents. And I actually got some response back. Some were even willing to take a look at my work, even though I was told that we do not accept unsolicited work. Well, agents work on commission. An agent is a salesperson. If there's a way for them to make $1, they're going to do it. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. So with that being said, my sports background has allowed me to persevere in difficult situations. Throughout the process of penning my screenplay, there have been more no's than yeses. However, the fact that I've gotten a few yeses is actually encouraging. Of those yeses, I only need one person to say yes. I believe in your project, and I'm going to help you. Here's the issue. How does one get from point A to point B? How do you become a top tennis player at the club? There is no magic formula. My love for this project is white hot intense. That is what keeps me moving forward. What gets me to do more than the minimum. That is what gets me to continue doing all this legwork beyond just writing a screenplay. That is what needs to be remembered by everyone, myself included. If you are going to be truly successful in anything, that intensity is a must. So, I think you understand what I mean when I talk about intensity. Let's get to our next principle. And that is O. O for outdo. Now, I've heard people say to me about themselves, I'm the hardest worker on the team, or I'm the hardest worker in the office. That's not what I mean. Maybe you are, but there's no way to know that. You don't have to work hard just when you're on the clock or just when the boss is around. You don't know what people do when no one else is watching. And you can't allow that to consume you. Here's what I am consumed by, and it is this sentence: I wish I would have. You don't want to have your work collecting dust on a shelf in your den, as we talked about before. And in a quiet moment with only your own thoughts, say, I wish I would have. If you live in life in fear of that sentence, I wish I would have, then being the hardest worker on the team or the hardest worker in the office is going to take care of itself. I have never worried about being the hardest worker, working harder than someone else. I have worried about outworking the Monday me on Tuesday. Success is about doing what others aren't willing to do. Writing a screenplay or producing an indie film isn't enough. That was the easy part. Now the real work begins. Like I said before, you only need one yes to move your project forward. With that being said, we need to be positive, but also consistent. There's an old saying in sales, ABC, always be closing. Be a shameless self-promoter. Talk about your project to anyone who will listen. Be proud of your work and the skills you possess. You contacted 100 agents without a yes. So what? Contact another 100. Or do something different, but never, ever give up. If you believe in your work, either you can or you believe you can't. Either way, you're right. If you continue to promote your project, eventually you'll get to where you want to be. That's the you can. If you believe that this is too hard, this isn't going to happen, then that's the you can't. I'm going to do more to promote my screenplay today than I did yesterday. I'm going to outdo yesterday. I am a can-do guy. Which one are you? Okay, so now you have your A, you have your E, you have your I, you have your O. What about your U? Your U is in your bathroom mirror. Your U is YOU. Your attitude, your effort, your intensity, your willingness to outdo. Success is simple but not easy. And more often than not, we know what we need to do to be successful. Many years ago, I wrestled at a high level. I still think I could beat the Olympic champ at 85 kilograms. I know exactly what I need to do, but at this particular point in my life, I'm not willing to make those sacrifices. The VP at my old company had a saying for us, and it was simple. It was 2 words. So what? My prospect is out of the office. So what? My prospect doesn't have money in the budget. So what? We are in the midst of a global pandemic. So what? Life craps on all of us. 100 people just told me no. So what? If you want your project to succeed, you need to be personally responsible. That's what success comes down to. When my sons come short of a goal, I ask them, do you have any I wish I would haves? If they do, then they weren't personally responsible enough to do what they needed to do. If you believe in your project and your skill set, then make absolutely certain that there are no I wish I would haves. Be personally responsible. Say so what to everything. If you don't like the results, increase or change the efforts. Do more or change course. Maybe do something unconventional. But remember, those who stand still fall behind. My speaking business survived a global pandemic because of Zoom and teleconferencing. I had a willingness to change course. I had to do something different in order to survive. If you believe in your project and your skills, then do what you need to do. One of my favorite quotes is from Jen Ashford. And she says, there's no such thing as can't or won't. If you're qualified, all it takes is a burning desire to accomplish, to make change. Go forward, go backwards, whatever it takes. It all comes from your mind. Everyone is qualified. Everyone wants to accomplish. But you, YOU, is the only entity that can make that happen. Now, I want to thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch this video today. And if you'd like to hear more about my screenplay, please reach out to me in the comment section or reach out to me on social, either on Twitter at JimL0828, on Instagram at JLSpeaker1, on Facebook at JLSpeaker, or James Lynch on LinkedIn. And, as I say, if you'd like to hear more about the project and what I'm currently doing to try to move it forward, or if you think you can help me in my endeavor, definitely reach out to me sooner rather than later. And that also goes to, if you know of any events where I would be a fit to speak, reach out to me, and again, either in the comment section or on one of the 4 major social media platforms. And once again, thank you all very much for viewing my video, and we will be seeing you next time. And I'll say to you all, never be satisfied.